This program is brought to you by Community Trust Bank, Medical City, and the Neely School of Business at TCU. Welcome to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Now, here's your host, Shivaun Palmer.
Hey, welcome back everybody to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Continuing my conversation today with Miss Lisbeth McNabb. She is the founder and CEO of W2Wlink.com. Lisbeth, let's talk about this exciting company you've founded October 2007.
That's right.
Why don't you share with our audience the premise of your company?
So having come from Match.com and then companies for that with consumer, I really looked at the women's segment, the digital segment. What we saw at Match is for professional women, it's always a little bit tricky to want to have your profile out there, have your blend of your personal and professional life. And so we'd done a lot of primary research, and there were a lot of insights around that. And so that, coupled with my having been a diversity leader champion at a Frito-Lay and at a Sodexo as one of the founders of a woman diversity inside a large company, what I saw as a diversity champion was that we'd have these great get people together, and then there'd be a lack of connection in between. So the founding of W2W Link was to say, I've learned at .com, I have seen what professional women do and don't want, and really to have my strategy side say this is an opportunity, which is to be able to allow women to be able to maximize their careers using digital content, digital connection, and bring that together, and that's what I've built.
It's amazing. Now, it's a membership organization, correct?
We are a membership model. We started out as just an open content and community site, and what we wanted to get to was more of a membership model. All of digital is trying to figure out how to run successfully, be a business that both makes money so it can keep grow, monetize. And so what I knew well from a number of things I've done over the years is how to do things that are a win-win for the consumer. And a membership model I felt was what we needed to get to in January of year 2. We went to that, and it's been very strong.
That's terrific. Let's start. You also you have an exciting new partnership with Club Corporation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Club Corp has a CEO, Eric Affeld, and a woman leader, Kathy O'Neill, that have been really big champions as they got to know our business. They recognized strategically that they cared about their membership model of private clubs, both business and golf, and bringing people together. And they saw the opportunity of all the growth in the women's segment and recognized that because of history, a lot of women went inside of clubs. And so W2W Link is collaborating with Club Corp because we're great at women's segment and we're really strong at digital, and they saw that we were strong where they wanted to grow to be strong. So we have a synergy to scale women together inside their clubs and have our members inside of our digital, and then help them with their digital offerings.
One statistic that doesn't just jive with all the progress women have made, yet still we're a very small percentage of the CEOs in this country. We sit on a very small percentage of corporate boards. So based on your experience in corporate America, now owning your own company, what do women need to do to kind of take this emerging power they have and work with men very closely? I think that's the key in terms of everybody sharing the wealth, so to speak, a little bit more.
Yeah, interesting point, because it literally is that we've made all these advancements, and then if you take 10, 15 years to today, it's flat. I mean, flat at the C-suite, flat in the board level, and those are of companies with a lot of power and a lot of scale. What's increasing though is women entrepreneur starts and companies, and that's dramatically increasing. And so what I would say about where's the learning there is that for women to ascend inside of a corporate setting and a board setting is that the biggest barrier is still access to networks. And so what all the women, whether you're a rising leader, you're already at the executive level, what women especially get challenged in is time, because they're typically most trying to have balance, be incredibly intense at work, but still be a mother or a partner or a spouse. And so women, we tend to do that well, not want to do anything not well, right. So we run out of time. So to access networks, you have to figure out how to actually do less at work and go spend the time accessing networks to be able to end up ascending into all those situations.
Do you think in business, since this financial meltdown and people are kind of really reevaluating a lot of things, that communication is key now, and if men and women, we communicate differently, we process information differently, but that just having that dialogue so we understand one another more, and then how to take women in the direction to where they can become more part of the C-level suites, as you call them, and the boards and so forth.
Yeah, I think that you're pointing at a very important area, right? Which is, communication, influence, differences in style. And I think that I feel like one of the blessings I had was that when I was running into gaps of situations as I moved higher and higher, things that had been really successful and supported by both men and women to ascend, some of those same style traits were no longer seen as positive. And so you're literally right. I was really successful when I would be assertive in this situation, drive at my goal, and then as an officer, you're being told, well, people see you as aggressive, and you're exhibiting the same behaviors, the same kind of verbal. So I was blessed with some tools and executive coaches and some resources that taught me how to move through and be more situational and be able to just handle that I was not going to be able to do some of the same things that had got me to where I am. And that's a very hard thing to do, is to not keep working muscles that were working for you. And so that's, some of the vision of W2W Link then is to get some of that in people's hands earlier and not have them hit an obstacle or end up, sometimes off-ramping, out of a company or a situation because they haven't gotten those situational styles. And so you need both men and women understanding, though, that sometimes you're looking at a woman leader differently than a male leader, and both women and men do it. And so you need to have more sophisticated awareness, because sometimes the woman needs to adjust. I needed to adjust, but also sometimes people need to recognize that they're not always handling gender, fairly, let's just say, or situationally themselves, and both sides need to become more aware.
I think you made a key point that women sometimes, you're talking about this sisterhood, but we can be each other's worst enemy as well in terms of perception and having these prejudices just like the men would. So that's an area that really you have to have very honest dialogue with one another in terms of moving women forward.
You do. I'll just touch on a point, though. I really very strongly think women are the best advocates for other women and consistently show that in management ranks. But both men and women at certain times don't perceive, a woman and expect a woman, and the same way to be as a man. So they may perceive that they want a woman to be more nurturing and more collaborative, let's say, and not all women are equally anything.
Exactly.
And so I would say is that I still see on a very consistent basis that women are great advocates for other women, and so we just need to work through both men and women understanding situationally in support of the leadership styles.
We've got a little less than 2 minutes. Just wanted to ask you briefly, biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your life to date, would you say?
Well, when I think of biggest challenge, I would go to a personal one, which always ends up being great, because then you end up having better work-life balance, and you end up being a better leader, and people have more empathy for you. But I ended up, after 10 years of marriage, going through a divorce, which ended up meaning that I was literally a mother of an infant, and I ended up being a single parent as an executive, and that just continued to make it all work. And so I ended up learning a lot. I ended up having more empathy for others that run into issues. I, felt like I was a little Darwinism up to then, thinking that, I could just do anything, and not recognizing that I'd been given blessings to share around me. Yep. So that life experience was, key to, I feel like, to now be where I am today and be a happier person.
Terrific. Got a little less than a minute, Liz. Just for women that are growing their businesses, and talk about the importance of an exit strategy at some point when you're growing a business and want to go to another phase of your life.
Oh, interesting, and just so important to have, a vision. We got to live in the moment, but we also have to know where we're trying to get to, and in business, what's that exit strategy? And so I think that people need to recognize, what is, their goals and how does it align with the company, and have it clear that if they are going to want to make a change, that what are they going to take with them? I've seen examples that is a female negotiating with the company to keep working a project but end up owning some IP. Right. I've seen exit strategies that end up saying that I'll be able to work into a consulting agreement and be able to have some continuity on my new business but still get this done for you. So it's working the plan as a win-win, negotiating for win-wins, but having a vision to the goal.
And just briefly to close out the segment, favorite quote or philosophy you'd like to live your life by?
I think of a philosophy more so, and that is around, managing your strengths and passions. And so I think of books like Strength Finders and learnings that are around us in some different practices, but that is that if we find and understand our strengths and then figure out what do we get passionate about, because some of our strengths are muscles that may not give us passion, but they work really well for us. Right. And often those get leveraged by others around us. We need to have both working and own that and drive themselves. So strengths and passions.
Beautiful. Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivaun.
Ladies and gentlemen, for more information on Lisbeth McNabb's company, go to w2wlink.com. I'm Shivaun Palmer, and we'll see you next week on Platforms, a life-lifting news program for women.